Hello, everyone. My name's Brent Gove with eXp Residential, but today I get the pleasure, the honor of introducing to you somebody who's become a great friend of mine. He's a legend in the commercial space. He's been doing this for, well, I'll let him tell you how long he's been in commercial real estate. Super accomplished, and he's at eXp. And I've asked if I could interview him as to why, because he was super not wanting to be an eXp commercial, and he has really done a 180. And I want him to share why for all the independent brokers and maybe that are commercial and with other brokers thinking why eXp. So, Paul Frank, welcome. Good to have you on today.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you, Brent.
You bet. Now, Paul, brag a little. I want you to tell your story. How long have you been doing commercial real estate? Share some of your accomplishments. I'm asking you to brag a little so people know that you've been doing this for a year or two. You are accomplished.
Yeah, uncomfortable to talk about myself, but background, I've been a commercial real estate developer and broker for nearly 4 decades now. And over my career, I've developed and brokered tens of millions of square feet of real estate, covering pretty much every, if not every, product class throughout the United States and internationally. And then, as you know, I was also an athlete and a coach most of my life, and coached over 25 years of sports, which is why you'll hear people refer to me as Coach or Coach Frank.
Nice, beautiful. And I know you live on a lot of acreage, and you're practically a Wrangler jeans and boot kind of guy. You're almost like a rancher compared to the rest of us that live on a half acre and feel like we're land barons. You're out there on like what, 50 acres or something?
A couple hundred acres, but some people out here think mine is a cul-de-sac lot, so it's all relative.
Nice. Right. Compared to 5,000 acres. So I
Yeah.
got you. Okay, so let's get into it. Why EXP? I asked you earlier before we kind of get going. What do you feel has been the number one benefit of you? You were, PDF, commercial, and you've been doing this for almost 4 decades. Why team up with EXP? What was the number one benefit you've seen so far?
Well, I think it's important before I touch on that, kind of my denier side of it. For over
Okay.
5 years, it was presented to me over and over. And I told you and Joey and others, I am literally the last human being on the planet that is going to bite on this, and you're better off spending your time with somebody else. And it was just probably about 3 years ago, after 5 years of saying absolutely not, sometimes not real friendly saying it that way, that I had this epiphany and decided I better give it a try.
Nice. And so here you are, the last person that would ever be an EXP commercial, super happy having been independent PDF commercial with your own brand, your own brokerage, very successful. What's the number one benefit been for you?
It by far, I would say, collaboration in the community within eXp overall, both on the realty side and the commercial side. It's an incredible community that I enjoy the most.
So now I've heard that CBRE, Cushman, Colliers. I've heard him say it's pretty intense. You better watch your desk. Don't leave your leads out. It's pretty competitive, dog eat dog. Is EXP commercial the same? Have you found it to be different? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's interesting because over the years there's been mistakes made where checks from other brokers on deals ended up on my desk, and I see those checks, and they would literally be less than half of what my check was as the owner of my own brokerage. And it was just always phenomenal how those brokerages continued to have agents that bought into those split situations. In eXp commercial, we're at a 80-20, 80% for us, 20% for the house, with a $20,000 cap, which is absolutely unheard of in the commercial space. But
What
go ahead.
Let's talk about that for a second. Because a lot of people like, well, you were your own independent broker in commercial, you were at 100%. Why even give EXP 20%? I mean, it's actually a big number. I know a lot of commercial shops, agents are giving 50%, 50-50 splits or 60-40 if you're lucky. And so I get it that 80-20 is way better than that. But for an independent commercial broker who's watching this, why go backwards to an 80-20? And you said it yourself, it's because it caps at 20,000 a year. Once you paid in 20, which could be one sale, you go off that to a 100% split. But for that, and correct me if I'm wrong, now that soft underbelly of liability, and it was the second benefit. I asked you, what's the second benefit? You go, I sleep better at night. So I think that kind of goes into that. I go, what do you mean you sleep better at night? He was, I lay in bed worried about DRE, investigations and compliance, and I'm fully liable as the broker. Now I'm on the eXp platform. And once you share a little bit more of what that's like by you sleep better at night, and why it's the best $20,000 you've ever spent in your life. We'll explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, and going back to the 80-20-20 cap, that was one of the reasons that I get 100 of everything. For 30 something years, I was 100% because I owned it. So even giving away $20,000 didn't make much sense to me. What I can say now is that $20,000 a year is coming back in exponentially. So sleeping better at night, unless you have been the tip of the spear, unless you've been the broker responsible, it is difficult to understand that load. We had, I think, 3 random DRE audits over the years, not generated by any complaint. They just walked into the office and want to see files. And they were there for several days looking through files. And you go to bed on those nights thinking, boy, did I cross every T and dot every I. So now, unbelievably, I am under eXp. All of my agents are under eXp. Even though we have a team and we fly under the logo, it is all within the cloud. All of the compliance, all of the liability is within eXp. So to say that I sleep better at night from that perspective is an absolute understatement. It relieved a load on me that I really wasn't aware of until it was removed.
Wow. Well said. Well said. So the number one benefit is the community, the collaboration, obviously the splits. We kind of ended up talking about that a little bit. 80-20 splits, you cap at 20,000 paid in. Again, that could be one deal and you're at 100% the rest of the year. And then number 2, sleep better tonight, that soft underbelly. You're kind of mitigating the liability of the situation. And because if something goes wrong, you're going down, right? And so now you have a multi-billion-dollar company with a bank of lawyers and great E&O and all that to back you up. So now they get to have sleepless nights and you get to sleep like a baby. So that made you smile.
Yep.
It would. Okay, let's talk about number 3. I said, what's the third? And there's lots of benefits. Let's just do 3. What's the third biggest benefit of what eXp has meant to you and done for your business?
Yeah, and this is something that was completely unforeseen from the development perspective, and even brokerage. I've done stuff, like I said, throughout the United States for decades, but now the growth of my brokerage team is actually limitless. I have people on my team all over the country, again, that aren't my responsibility, but we work together. I coach them. I give them leads through the eXp family that help us all grow, help everybody benefit. So that ability to actually grow a brokerage on a national basis under my flag, powered by eXp Commercial, is just such a phenomenal benefit that was unforeseen at the time that I made the decision.
I didn't ask you this question before when we chatted a little bit before this appointment, but how many states were you licensed in when you were independent PDF commercial? How many states roughly? 3, 4?
Yeah, a few. I've added a few since then, but we also had partners that we worked with in different states that would assist with compliance issues. But it was always sort of a difficult little dance. And now through eXp, we have a clear pathway to make that happen in states that I'm not licensed in. Right now, I'm licensed in six different states or so.
Yeah, and now because of your alliance with eXp, you're in all 50. You know, you're
Yep.
like if you find so before I had asked you earlier, I go, what did you do when you found a really talented agent in Boise, Idaho, or Denver, Colorado, or Austin, Texas? If it was a state you weren't in, one of these 6, 7, 8, 9 states that you weren't in, even with your people that were kind of helping you, but you know, you find someone in Manhattan, someone in West Palm Beach, Florida, you had to kind of pass. You weren't there. There really wasn't a smooth way to do it. And now you're able to grow. I think the word you used was seamlessly or effortlessly across all 50 states. And you're even able to go up into Canada. Is that right? Throughout North
Yeah.
America. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, and a perfect example of that is one of my kids. I call my kids. Everybody that I coached for a quarter century is my kid. He was playing for the Dallas Cowboys, and I said, "Hey, go get your real estate license." And for those of you that know who Staubach was or is, I gave him that model, and I said, "Go get your real estate license." So while he was with the Cowboys, I got him to get his license in Texas, which allowed me to expand in that state immediately. Whereas previously, I couldn't have done that if I wasn't with eXp.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Wonderful. I love it. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about eXp tools and resources that maybe surprised you a little. And because before it's just whatever tools and resources you could give, PDF commercial, your company, it was all on you. But now you have this $1 billion commercial company, eXp commercial, that has a little bit more muscle, right? Talk a little bit about the eXp tools and resources.
Yeah, well, to juxtapose the resources that I had before, that was limited to the mirror and my attorney. Even when my agents came to me and asked questions, that's all I had was a mirror and an attorney to figure out the right answer. Another unforeseen benefit is coming over to eXp. I like our DMB in California, designated managing broker, Jeffrey Pelton. I pick up the phone and ask him any question I might have. And I've run into some very unique transactions in the last couple of years that I've been able to lean on Jeffrey for, as well as especially for new agents. There is not a lot of material out there to learn about commercial real estate. I've always been a coach and a mentor, and it's in my DNA to help people. And I have some classes and things that I do, but the resources in eXp to learn about commercial beyond your specialty or your region is just phenomenal, and something that's not really available if you have your own brokerage, especially.
Has it been quite a bit different? I mean, it's been very, is it similar or quite a bit more robust and enhanced, the whole tools and resources of EXP?
Life changing. It's to describe the difference is nearly impossible from where
Well, you
we
jumped
were.
ahead. That was going to be my final question for you was, um,
Ah,
you're a PDF, you're an independent commercial broker, almost 40 years, highly accomplished, and then now you're at EXP. And I said, what's the difference? Is it 50% better? Is it 20% better? Is it twice as good? And your answer was,
life changing.
yes.
Absolutely life changing. I look back to 3.5 years ago to today, and it was a fork in the road, to say the least. And I hesitate to think actually where I would be right now had I not made that decision and listened to you guys. I'll tell you with absolute candor that I was getting burned out. The business was not much fun anymore, both on the development side and the brokerage side. And this experiment has been successful, and it's brought the fun back into the business for me. And the success within this platform has come along with that fun, which is just phenomenal.
I love it. I love it. So, well, I'm going to wrap up with the final question for you, because this was supposed to be short. It's kind of give people a taste that are maybe thinking about switching from being an independent commercial agent, or maybe you're at Cushman, or you know, you're at one of these big firms. You know, what would you say to them? Maybe they're on a 50-50 split, heaven forbid, 60-40, but like, but I need the leads. I gotta give them half, half of $500,000 or $1 million commission. You're paying $250,000 for that lead, half of 500,000 for that lead. You think, but I wouldn't have had it. What would you say to these agents that are on that? Like, I want to know more. What would you advise them to do so they don't waste 5 years? Not that you wasted 5 years, but you said no for 5 years. What's your advice to them?
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal how entrenched the thinking is in commercial real estate, the paradigms, and just the pathway to success in commercial real estate, and what I call the global CBRE Cushman Colliers. And I have great friends and people that I work with in all of those companies. I got to tell you, and I don't know if you've heard this story before, but my Mayshore moment, Krista Mayshore, I was speaking with her at an event when I first got into this. And the event had a panel. I was on a bar stool up on the stage, and I was the only commercial guy, and everybody's talking about all these residential angles and the issues. And Krista was sitting next to me, and she took the microphone, and she is a prototypical female real estate agent, just a wonderful gal, full of energy, blonde hair, and bouncing around the stage. And I had my head down in my microphone, and I was literally thinking, why am I here? This is so far outside of anything that we do in commercial. It is a complete and utter waste of my time. And Krista said this, somebody asked about marketing, and she said, well, I'll tell you this, if everybody's doing it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And if nobody's doing it, you might want to think about doing it. And I literally raised my head and I thought, what did she just say? And then she repeated it. And that was my Mayshore moment. It was an epiphany that all of a sudden the lights came on, and the way that everybody is approaching commercial real estate for decades doesn't mean that it's the right way. And that was the moment that I started doing things a little differently and saw some incredible success from it.
That's awesome. So life-changing. And just side note, have you gotten lots and lots of referrals to wineries and buildings and commercial leasing and businesses for sale from those 90,000 residential agents? Have you gotten a lot of business from the residential side of things to you?
The potential for that happening on the commercial side is literally limitless. It is untapped. It is one thing that we've embraced because of my Mayshore moment. And I would say today that probably 80 to 85% of our volume on the brokerage side is due to collaboration with the eXp Realty agents.
Wow, that's powerful. Okay, so for someone watching this, really the next step for you guys, and we'll see if you agree, Paul, would be get back to the person who gave you a copy of this video of Paul and I talking and say, look, I want to know more. Don't know if I want to do eXp commercial, but I'm at least curious. I would like to know more. I want to meet some of the commercial leaders at eXp. So get back to the person who gave you this and say, set me up with the president, the vice president of commercial eXp. I want to meet some agents and brokers like Paul Frank here, and reach out to them and do your homework. Would you agree? Just mainly either it's going to pan out, or you're going to find the fly in the ointment, to use an old term, or either it's going to pass the mustard test or it will not. So would that be your advice as we wrap this up today? Just do your homework, do your due diligence.
Yeah, take the blinders off and at least take a good, hard, honest look at it, and don't make the mistake that I did for 5 years.
There you go. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for being with us today, and we look forward to meeting you soon at one of the big events. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.